Hello everyone, welcome to the story of Wishmaster, part 5. In the last episode, we found out why Alex was reluctant to form a closer relationship with Josh. The house fire that had resulted in the death of her parents had really hurt her spirit. That's not something you can shake off easily. But let's not dwell on this. There is much more of the story to tell. Alex collapses and she lands on her back. Then she screams. She's having another vision. This time, she actually sees the face of the djinn. It is a human face, and that makes it even scarier. Raymond Beaumont bends down and he attempts to bring her out of it. He looks into her eyes and he calls her name. Alex! But the vision is too strong, and she screams again, even more loudly this time. The face has changed, and she sees that the djinn really has two faces, a human face and the face of a monster. Both of them terrify her. Mr. Beaumont calls her name again. Alex, it's Raymond. What's the matter? She's still screaming, but the vision has now faded, and after a few seconds, she is calm again. She apologizes, and she says she doesn't know what happened. So Raymond helps her to sit up, and then he helps her to get back on her feet. He tells her that she fainted, and he offers to get her a drink of water. But Alex doesn't want his help. She tells him no, and she tells him that she's fine, just like she did with Shannon. Mr. Beaumont isn't really convinced, but Alex appears to be okay now, so he changes the subject and he invites her to his party. The party was to celebrate his new acquisition. The invitations had all gone out some time ago, so he's decided to go ahead with the party anyway. He tells her that Alex and her charming sister would be most welcome. But like she did with Josh, she turns him down. She thanks him, and she tells him that she thinks she might be busy. Mr. Beaumont is very disappointed and very surprised to be snubbed, but he doesn't press her further. Alex now takes Mr. Beaumont's advice and she goes to the university to speak with Professor Wendy Derleth. Professor Derleth is a professor of history and folklore, but right now she's helping with the drama department with a production of a new play. So Alex is directed outside to the university's amphitheatre. When Alex finds the professor, she is busy directing the students. Not recognising her, Professor Derleth thinks she is here to collect some paperwork for the dean. Alex corrects her, and she tells her that her name is Alex and Raymond Beaumont should have called to tell her that she was coming. Now she remembers, and she tells Alex what an insufferable little prick that man is. She goes on to say, but that's not your problem. Unless you're stupid enough to be working for him, or sleeping with him? Alex replies no to both questions, and this pleases the professor, and she replies by saying, well, that establishes your discerning good taste. It is clear that the professor is busy, and Alex tells her that she wants to ask her a few questions, but only if she can have her full attention. Wendy tells Alex that she likes her, and she agrees to leave the students to their work. She thinks she's only interfering anyway. So Alex asks her about the gemstone, and the professor tells her that it must be the stone of the secret fire. She tells her that a court sorcerer used the stone to imprison an evil spirit within it, A djinn. Alex asks her, "Do you mean a genie?" The professor realizes that Alex doesn't know anything about the old stories, and she tells Alex to forget about what our culture has made of the jinn. In the old stories, a jinn was not cute or funny. It was something else entirely. It was the face of fear itself. Meanwhile, now that the jinn is human, he wants to look good. He has gone to a department store and he is trying on a complete set of new clothes, new shoes, a new suit, and a new blue shirt with a matching blue tie. One of the store's assistants, a young and beautiful woman named Ariella, is waiting for him to come out of the changing room. When he emerges, she takes a good look at him, all the way from his feet to the top of his head. She is stunned. He looks incredible. She says just one word to him: "Wow." When he speaks with a charming voice. Everything about him is perfect. He tells her that he is glad she approves. She asks him if he wants to try something else, perhaps a different style, or something tighter. Oh no, don't like feeling confined. Had enough of that. Of course, Ariella does not understand the significance of what he's just said. The jinn had been confined in the gemstone for nearly 900 years, and this is his first full day in our world. She leads him to the counter so that he can pay for the items. Once there, she asks him, "Will you be paying by cash or charge, Mr.?" And he replies, "Demarest, Nathaniel Demarest. Call me Nathaniel." They agree that he will pay by cash, and the notes appear, as if by magic, tucked into the neck of her dress. She doesn't understand how this has happened, but she removes the money and then she looks up at Nathaniel. She's still very much taken aback by his appearance, and the jinn continues to work his magic. She is mesmerized. Now he tells her he is pleased to see that beauty is a constant, and he asks her if it bothers her that her beauty will fade. He asks her to wish for an end to change, an end to decay. Say, "I wish to be beautiful forever." Ariella replies, "I wish to be beautiful forever." And the charming but evil creature before her replies, "Pleasure doing business with you." A few moments later, another customer walks towards the counter, looking for an assistant. She looks around, but there doesn't seem to be anyone there. There is only a couple of mannequins, one male and one female. The female mannequin is Ariella, looking just as she did earlier, but now she is made of fiberglass and plastic. In this way, the jinn has preserved her beauty forever. As before, the jinn again provides Alex with a vision of his latest deeds. He tells her that soon he will find her. Professor Derleth sees that Alex is distracted and she asks her if she wants to do this some other time. Alex is more used to the visions now though, and she recovers her composure quickly. She replies no, and she's about to add something more when a student wearing a hideous mask startles her again. And now she does scream. The student apologizes and she removes her mask. She says that she wanted Professor Derleth to check out her costume. Professor Derleth replies, "Well, it's obviously scary enough." And she tells the student to go back to rehearsal. Professor Derleth continues to tell Alex about the jinn. They are magical, powerful, and evil. She tells her that they are obliged to grant wishes, but their true motivation is always usurping this world for themselves. They mean us harm, and they are more powerful than our worst imagining, driven by an ancient and endless malevolence. Nathaniel goes to the police station. He knows the police investigated the accident at the physics lab and that they spoke to Alex, so he thinks they will have her address. Using only his charm and intelligence, Nathaniel gets into the police station and he makes his way to Detective Nathanson's desk. Even without using their powers, the Jinn are intelligent and resourceful creatures. Detective Nathanson is reading some case notes when Nathaniel interrupts him. I was told downstairs that you were in charge of the Aikman investigation. Aikman was Josh's surname. The detective tells Nathaniel that he was, but the case is now closed. Unless you've got something to tell me. Nathaniel replies, I was hoping you had something to tell me. Detective Nathanson is concerned. Now he is wondering why the officers downstairs let this man in. So he replies, Oh really? And what would that be? An address for a woman named Alexandra. What the hell makes you think I can give you her address? What's your interest in this case anyway? Nathaniel replies with another question. Why do you keep looking over there? The detective is having a bad day, not least because they are questioning a man they have interviewed many times before. But they haven't been able to convict him, and it makes him mad. He's sure the suspect is guilty, but he can't prove it. He says to Nathaniel, You know what I'd like? The Jinn replies, I'd love to know. Detective Nathanson replies, Just once. I'd like it to be easy. Murder one. Everyone's an eyewitness. The Jinn says nothing, but he looks over at the suspect. Suddenly, the suspect goes berserk, and he snatches a gun from one of the officers. He starts shooting as many people as he can. The remaining officers eventually overpower him and subdue him, but in the chaos, Nathaniel has time to reach over to Detective Nathanson's desk and look through the Aikman case notes. He finds Alex's business card. It has the address and phone number for the Regal Auctioneers on it. It says 1001 Atkins Boulevard. The Jinn calls her name, and Alex has a brief glimpse of his evil thoughts once more. Detective Nathanson is helping the other officers hold the suspect down. He calls over to Nathaniel, but the Jinn just looks back at him with an evil grin on his face. The suspect suddenly gains superhuman strength and he starts to break free. He punches Detective Nathanson in the face and he knocks him to the floor. He then grabs one of the officers by the mouth and he rips his lower jaw off. Finally, he breaks free from the other officers. Detective Nathanson pulls out his gun and shoots him. The other officers do the same and they shoot him until they are out of bullets. While all of this is happening, the Jinn turns and he walks away. He makes his way out of the police station. His next stop is the auctioneers. Alex is at home and she is looking through some of the material that Wendy has given her. In it, she finds more information about the Stone of the Secret Fire. The stone is as much a curse as a blessing, because it is a doorway between the worlds. A Jinn, once freed, can use the stone to bring forth his race to our reality, so that they can overwhelm humanity. But the Jinn must first charge the stone, by gathering the souls of humans. In order to claim a soul, he must grant the person a single wish. He must then find the person that woke him into this world and grant him 3 wishes. This will activate the stone and open the door between the worlds. The sole limitation to the jinn's power is that it may only be used in the service of wishes. Over at the auctioneer's, Nathaniel has arrived, but he is too late. The auctioneers are closed. Nevertheless, he knocks on the glass doors, as you or I might do if our business was urgent and we thought that there might be someone still around. Eventually, a security guard hears the knocking and he makes his way to the doors. Without opening them, he tells Nathaniel, "Sorry, sir, we are closed." Nathaniel tells him he is trying to locate an employee, but the security guard insists that there's no one here apart from him and the boss. "I'll speak to the boss then. Open the doors, please." The security guard tells him that it's appointments only after business hours. Nathaniel replies by insulting him. He says, "You're becoming a bother, little man. Open the doors." The provocative language works, and the so-called little man opens the doors to confront him directly. They argue for a few moments, and then the jinn asks him, "Do you have any idea how frustrating it is to have unlimited power and only be able to use it when some worm asks you for something?" The security guard is unmoved, and he tells him that he couldn't give a shit. The jinn tells him to ask him for something. So he does. He asks him to leave. The jinn thinks about this for a few seconds, and he realizes that he cannot grant this wish. If he grants the wish, he will not be able to find Alex. Reluctantly, he starts to walk away. His frustration is apparent though. As he is leaving, he says, "No, no, I have to get inside." The security guard laughs, and he replies, "Well, you'd have to go through me, and that is something I would love to see." The jinn smiles, and he turns around. His power is now released, and he uses it to bend reality. He makes the security guard merge with the glass doors to produce a colourful stained glass window of the security guard's terrified face and body. The jinn then bends reality again, and he walks right through the window. A few seconds later, the glass shatters violently into 100 pieces. As Nathaniel enters Nick's office, Nick sees him and he says, "Who the hell are you? How'd you get in here?" Nathaniel, showing that he still has his wicked sense of humour, replies, "The guard opened up for me." He walks in confidently, sits himself down, and he asks Nick about Alex. Nick tells him that she was off today, and he says, "I asked you who you were." Nathaniel replies, "Someone she's expecting. Perhaps you'd be so kind to give me her home address." Nick deflects his questioning, and it becomes apparent that he's not going to give him anything. So Nathaniel picks up the vase that is on Nick's desk. "Hey, that's a very valuable piece. Would you like it to be 100 times as valuable?" Nick looks at him with incredulity, and after a second or two he says, "Yes." Oddly, the jinn decides to simply grant this wish, and he turns the vase into solid gold. Maybe he senses that Nick is a man that can be tortured some more. The wish has also caused diamonds to appear in the vase, and he tips them out onto the desk. Nick inspects one of them, and then he asks Nathaniel if he's David Copperfield or something. He wants to know how he did it. The djinn tells him that it is an old family secret, and he asks him again about Alexandra. Nick says he is not comfortable telling him, so the djinn asks him what would make him comfortable. Nick asks him what his limit is, and the djinn replies, "Your imagination." Nick then says, "Well, I'm not a greedy man. How about $1 million? The djinn smiles again, ponders the question for a moment, and then he says, "Done." At the airport, a middle-aged woman is taking out some travel insurance. She has filled in the forms and the assistant is checking them. The assistant tells her that she has forgotten to fill in the beneficiary. "Oh, how silly," she replies. "It's my son, Nick. He owns a very prestigious auction house." The assistant gives the forms back to the woman, and she waits for her to fill in Nick's name on the $1 million insurance policy. "There you go. Thank you for your business, Mrs. Merritt. Enjoy your flight." A short time later, Mrs. Merritt boards the passenger plane. She takes her seat and the plane takes off. A few minutes into the flight, the plane explodes, killing everyone on board. I made many observations and I had a lot of fun making part 5. There is so much I could talk about, but I will control myself. I'm only going to talk about a couple of things. I want to go back to 2 of the topics I mentioned earlier in the retelling. Firstly, all of the scenes in this part are fantastic, apart from one of them. It really stands out for me. It's the scene when Alex is at home and she's learning more about the Stone of the Secret Fire. The stone is only a device for capturing the djinn. It's not a doorway between the worlds. That's ridiculous. Only Ahura Mazda or possibly Angra Mainyu would have the power to open a door between the earth and the void. It's nonsensical that the stone will be able to do this, and also be able to hold captured souls. I think Angra Mainyu must have made some kind of agreement with the djinn. It's possible there was a power struggle with Ahura Mazda too, and they reached a deal to allow the djinn to win their freedom. But only if one of them was able to grant a very special person 3 wishes. The only good part of the scene is the last line. The sole limitation of the djinn's power is that it may only be used in the service of wishes. We see that play out in the rest of the story, but we also see another interesting aspect of the deal. The djinn is not able to refuse wishes either. If someone asks him for something, he must grant it. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something I mentioned in part 0. I said that Wishmaster wasn't just another horror film, and that it contains some fundamental ideas. We see 2 of them in this chapter. Professor Derleth tells us that the djinn is the face of fear itself. And I don't want to talk too much about that for obvious reasons, but it seems to me that fear is a fundamental aspect of life too. The other one is imagination. Some people will tell you that anything is possible, and who am I to argue with that? Okay. Next time, we will see what happens now that the djinn has got what he wanted and he is able to get in touch with Alex. He needs to do just one more thing. He needs to set things up so that Alex can make her 3 wishes. Let me know what you think.